Welcome to Sports Bet Daily at oddsmarket.com. NFL Week 2, a game last night, 1 down, 15 to go over the next 3 days. South Carolina, misery again from them. They're 0-2. The Bucks get the win. They're 1-1. Today, joined by spread Astaire and Jason. This is how it's going to work. I'm going to give out a few of the games, and they're going to fight it out. And I hope they're opposing each other. Gentlemen, how are you?
Good. What's up, guys?
Yeah, I'm good. I'm good. I'm going to fly in with the first game. Dallas versus the Redskins. I've gone Dallas -4.5. Spread. What's your thoughts on this game?
This is a tough one. Usually when you take, you like to take the home team into the division. Home dogs in the division are usually very profitable. But the deal with the Redskins right now that's hard to handicap is the inner turmoil. I know that with Trent Williams being out, usually a holdout is a money issue, but this time it's the actual organization of the team. He's very upset with the medical staff, and I think these type of things can trickle down. That being said, I think Jay Gruden really coached his tail off against Philadelphia. They just came up short, and they seem to get winded at the end. That could be another sign of fatigue and really just bad organization overall. I know it's really tough to do. Dallas looked great last week. I generally do not advise taking a road favorite in the division, but in this case, I'm going to have to take Dallas -4.5. They just seem to be doing a lot better, and with all the turmoil in the Redskins organization, I don't see how you can back that team right now.
Jace, Dallas moving in the right direction, up around 5.5 in places. A fresh Zeke Elliott, perfect calling Jason Garrett and his team. The one that really worries me is a perfect Dak Prescott. That can't be right.
Yeah, this game's a pass for me, but I completely understand why you guys are on Dallas. You can't bet. I would not bet the number now, 5.5. It's passed you by. And spread is right. You normally try to take home dogs in division games. But, Washington gets out to that 17-0 lead. And then they do what they do. I think Philadelphia outscored them 32-10 from the second quarter on. If Dallas was playing any other team last week than the New York Giants and did what they did, I would have bet them to win the NFC Championship for a nice future bet. But the Giants are so bad that you really have to throw that game out for Dallas and say, okay, they got the win, they looked good, but they played the New York Giants. So for me, it's a pass. Had the game been an even 4, I might have taken a shot with Dallas, but I'm off it. But I completely understand why you guys are on that side.
Okay, we're going to move on. Big dog. Oakland at 7, getting 7.5 against the impressive Chiefs spread.
I love this game. This is one of my favorite picks of the week. I'm taking Oakland +7.5 at home. We're kind of going back to what we talked about just a minute ago, taking home dogs in the division. We got a great chance. These teams know each other well. And with the Chiefs, let's be honest, you're not going to stop them. So if you want to cover this spread, Oakland is going to need to keep up with them. John Gruden, everything we've heard about him, organization flaws. What are his flaws? He doesn't really coach special teams. He doesn't care about it that much. He doesn't really coach defense that much. But what does this guy love? Offense. So what he's going to need to do is keep up on the scoreboard against the high-flying Kansas City Chiefs. I think they know them pretty well. And, they've got home field advantage. It's going to be rocking there. It was rocking on Monday night. I talked to a couple friends that were down there, and they just said, it's the best atmosphere. People in Oakland are really excited for this last season here. And I think John Gruden's going to put enough points up to keep pace and cover the 7.5 spread.
Yeah, Oakland, dangerous side. Once they start wobbling, then you oppose them with everything you've got because it's the all or nothing with Oakland. But getting 7.5, I can see that. I can also see the overs. It's a leave from me because I just like the Kansas City Chiefs. I think they could just blow anyone away at any time. We're going to move on because I know we're going to oppose each other here. LA Rams, -2.5 against the Saints. The Saints did everything they could to get beat the other night against the Texans. Last second field goal, get the job done. Jace, you got LA Rams, didn't you?
I do. We before the show started, we were talking about the side. I know you like the over, Flash.
Yeah.
They scored 80 points last year. You know, the total's low enough where I understand people that are on the over, and I don't hate it. But I'm on the Rams. What gets lost in how dominant a home team the Saints are is how mediocre they tend to be on the road. And Sean McVay held his starters back during the preseason so they would be healthy for this early game in particular. He made the trade-off to be rusty in week 1, and that's exactly what we saw with the Rams. They came out. They didn't look right in the first half. They caught their stride in the second half, looked much better. I think they'll be ready to go from kickoff. The Saints were a coin flip in the middle of the fourth quarter on Monday night as a touchdown favorite. I sent Houston out last week. I'm taking the Rams this week. Gurley looked better than I thought he would this early. Jared Goff's security blanket is back and healthy in Cooper Kupp. And my power ratings have the Rams as a 3-point favorite. And you can get them right now at multiple shops at -2. So that's a no-brainer play for me on a key number.
Spread, I look at this Saints defence and I fancy any one of us three could run through there at will. Have you got an edge on this game?
I'm on the Rams as well. I don't know about me running through there. I'm not in as good shape as I used to be. But, yeah, the defense isn't doing too well. I like the Rams at home, too. He makes a great point. The Saints just really aren't that effective off the road. Now, to be fair, this should be a nice, great environment. It's out in L.A. It'll be sunny. It'll be nice and warm. It'll be a little easier for Drew Brees. When he usually struggles is, going outside, in the winter, the tougher conditions. But that being said, regardless, this is a great spot. Goff's looking well. McVay has them, as a finely tuned machine. They're getting their audibles off. And, people talk about the call last year in the game. But that wasn't the end of the game. The Saints still had opportunities after that. And when it really counted, the Rams stepped up, they made the stop, and then they moved the ball down the field to get the win. And I don't see any reason why now you take the Saints out of the dome, why this doesn't happen again. The biggest loss for me, the concern was the loss of Ndamukong Suh, because I thought teamed with Aaron Donald, they just made a great defensive line pairing. But they've been able to just plug and play, keep it going. Donald still looks fantastic. Get pressure up, Breeze up the middle is some of the toughest way to do it because, he doesn't move side to side as well as some of the younger quarterbacks. And I really like the matchup here for the Rams. Cooper Kupp, like you said, is a great addition, and they seem to just be going full force. I like the Rams -2, great price.
Yeah, and I like the overs, so I don't care who wins, but I definitely see this a 35-31 type game. So that gives me at least 10 or 11. I can see 28 to 40 points in the second half. So even if you wanted to go with the high scoring half being the second, because they will just be throwing bombs. Okay, we're going to move on. Denver +2.5 against the Bears. I'm going to step back here. Spread, you take your angle.
I'm taking Denver at home. They play great at home in September. I don't know what it is. It doesn't seem like it would be that hot in Denver, but for whatever reason, they have a great record against the spread at home. I don't think that they showed their best against Oakland on Monday night. I know it's a short week, but Denver at home's a great look. I think that we're getting a great value here because they look so bad on primetime Monday night. I don't know how many of the East Coasters stayed up to watch that one. But out here, we all watched, and Denver looked really bad. But I don't think they're as bad as they looked on Monday. I think they ran into a tough offense with Gruden, who knew how to neutralize the two great ends, Von Miller and Bradley Chubb, and that was by having Derek Carr get the ball out early. Didn't really let them rear back, got the lead, and was able to run the ball against them. Run the ball at Von Miller. That's kind of what you say. That's the way that you attack Von Miller. I think that Denver bounces back here. I know that Chicago has a little extra rest too. That's one thing that makes me a tad concerned, but I like Denver at home. I think they get back on track, and you're going to see those defensive ends look a little better than they did last week.
Jason, look at this Chicago Bears defense. Scary, unbelievably quick. Surely they turn up. And if they turn up, they're in this.
I think had the Chicago Bears beat Green Bay week 1, I think that spread would have been dead on and the spot would have warranted Denver at home. But I think the fact that they lost that game is the reason why I'm going to be on them. Listen, I'm not sold on Mitch Trubisky, okay? I don't really like him, to be honest with you, as a quarterback. But I think he's better than how he played against the Green Bay Packers because he was serviceable enough last season. And the Chicago Bears defense is a special unit. I think that I respect the Denver Broncos defense, but I think that the Chicago Bears defense is at the very minimum a step up. And they'll have the best unit on the field. And what really swayed it for me, Flash, was Aaron Rodgers is one of the best mobile quarterbacks in football. Granted, he did not play the preseason, okay? I'm not talking about his arm. I'm talking about his legs. You don't have to play in the preseason to run. He could not get away from that Bears front seven. 2 seconds. They were in the backfield with a guy that is phenomenal at getting out of trouble in the pocket. Now they're going to see Joe Flacco. The guy might as well be standing in cement in the pocket. I just don't think – I think any time Denver goes back to pass the football, they are in trouble. So because of that, because the Bears lost the first week of the season, Ordinarily, I might have taken Denver, but I have to back the Bears here.
No, I see, and I hear that. I look at this, the Bears, and the thing I aimed at them last week was they were too much in a rush and they were tunnel vision just to get to the ball. And I think that if Flacco rolls out and tests this secondary, I think that they may have a little bit of success. But I'm leaning towards the Bears, but at the moment, it's a pass from me. Here's a game. And I know that we're going to be rivals on this one. LA Chargers -2 away at the Lions. Take me away, Jace.
All right. Listen, I'm high in the Chargers. I have them very high in my power ratings. Call me crazy, okay? But I am going to fire on the Lions this week, Flash, okay? All right? I'm firing. I'm taking a shot.
Yeah, it's a big shot.
Historically, the Chargers are subpar when they make the trip from LA towards the East Coast. We know that. But the two big factors for me personally, why I'm on them, number one, they are absolutely decimated with injuries. Russell Okung out. Mike Williams out. Derwin James out. Hunter Henry out. Mike Davis is questionable. It's not looking good. So while it's not exactly a cluster of injuries to one single position, there are now enough pieces missing that it's almost impossible for it to not have a compounded effect on the team. And in my opinion, it's going to cause an issue. On the flip side, Matt Stafford looked really good in the opener, 385 yards, 3 touchdowns, no picks. And I saw exactly what I wanted to see from this offense. In the offseason, when I wrote the season win total articles for Odds Market, I took the Lions over 6.5 wins because the key piece to this offense would be that finally on 3rd and short and 3rd and mid-range, Stafford would have a stud rookie in Hockenson at tight end to get the ball to. And what does he do? 9 targets, 6 receptions, over 100 yards, a touchdown. Everybody says, well, they lost the game with the comeback from Murray. But what I will say is I'm not that concerned about it. They changed their offense and defense in the fourth quarter. They got way too conservative. We see teams do it all the time. I think they play a full 60 minutes, and I'm going to take the 2.5 points here.
Yeah, my big problem. Agree with everything. I was on Detroit, so I'm looking through sore eyes, if you like. Matt Patricia panicked with such
terrible.
a big lead. He had a fear of winning for me, and with like 45, 50 seconds to go, Arizona, no timeouts. He takes a timeout, lets them regroup, gives them everything. He should have rushed them. He should have left them, let the clock run, put them under pressure. But no, he said, here's your time. Go and do what you've got to do. Not having Patricia, not having him, even though he's one of my New England boys. I can't have the Lions against these Chargers. The Chargers I've got in the top 4 AFC. They go in there and they get the job done. Spread, any thoughts on this game?
Yeah, at first glance, it just seems like you should take the Chargers, right? They looked great last week. Detroit, toughest meltdown of the afternoon, and most of us watched it. There's only 3 or 4 games on at that time. But, Jace makes some great points here. I like Detroit. They're coming back at home, and I think that we might see a situation like we saw last night where a team, they didn't lose, but they definitely had a disappointing performance. I think they're going to be able to get to the tape, see what they need to fix, and come out and look like a different team this week. And I'll tell you what, if they do get a lead, I don't expect them to lit up this week. I expect them to learn from their mistakes. This is a tough week for the Chargers, decimated by injuries. I like the home team here. I'm taking Detroit, and I'm taking the points.
Okay, we're going to move.
Let's go, spread. Let's go.
Come on, boys.
Next week, Flash.
Take on my Chargers.
I'm coming back for my bragging rights next week.
Yeah, we don't mind that. We've cemented this show in at 12 o'clock. I know Spread likes to turn up at 10 past, but hopefully he's got a week to sort himself out. Cincinnati Bengals. Plus 9.5 last week. Flashman was all over that 9.5, and they nearly got the money line as well. They go to they entertain the 49ers and only giving up 1. The Bengals for me. Dalton on fire and a newfound confidence. Spread, take me away.
So this 49ers team is tough to cap. Boy, did they look good last week against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And what really surprised me, we thought that the offense was going to be good. Shanahan has always been a solid offensive coordinator. He's got the moving. Even with Nick Mullins and C.J. Beathard, he was able to produce nice offensive results. It was the turnaround on the defensive end and the play of the secondary that really was impressive. They were able to get more interceptions, I think, in that game than they had the whole season before. Could be turning this around on defense. Could be help of the added pass rush, when they added a D Ford and Nick Bosa. So this is a really tough team to cap. But, boy, were the Bengals, talk about a surprise. That was an even bigger surprise, holding it close with Seattle. They could have won that game. One thing to note about San Francisco, I thought they were going to have a lot of travel. They did end up staying in. They flew straight to Cincinnati. They've been out there all week. I think that's an advantage. So it made me, think twice before I made this pick. But still, on the road, 49ers played their 4th preseason game on the road, too. This will be their 3rd week on the road. I like the Bengals at home to continue to be a surprise team here in the NFL week 2.
Yeah, couldn't agree more. Like the Bengals. What about you, Jace? Just a pass?
It's a complete pass for me, Flash, yeah.
Okay, let's move on. This is a game close to my heart because it's New England that are involved. Miami, not a place that I ever enjoy going to with New England. Under 47.5 I'm going for, and they moved the spread plus 15 to plus 20. Now it's back to about 17.5 in Miami's favour. Jace, it's a lot of points to give up this.
If I was going to make a play on the game, I would back your angle. I think that was the closest to me making a play because this is the best defensive unit that the New England Patriots have had in probably a decade. So I expect them to do to Miami what Baltimore did to Miami on the defensive side of the ball. And I think the Patriots are going to get their points. I almost took the Miami Dolphins at like plus 20 on general principle because, number one, New England has a really tough time every time they play in Miami. The games are either razor thin or they lose the game. You can't give 20 points to a professional football team. I stopped myself from taking the 20 just in case they beat them by 30. But the side is a pass for me. I lean under. I lean what you bet.
Yeah, spread. Any leans or any positives?
So, hey, this is the ultimate buy low opportunity right here. Could a team look worse than they did, than the Dolphins did against the Baltimore Ravens?
Well,
I mean, that was just terrible. And
Only the Steelers up at Foxborough.
Yeah, they looked bad, but I mean, that was embarrassing. You know, the fake punt when the Ravens had 35 points also had nothing to do with the large margin of victory, but the Ravens could do whatever they want. But like we said, this is a professional football team. A couple guys might have called their agents, but these guys play for pride. In the NFL, you know, your reps or anything, even if you're thinking about getting out of Miami, you need to put good reps onto tape. You know, you can't just frolic around like the NBA and still expect people to sign you and get traded for. So I expect Miami to bounce back. Professional football team. You know, Flores comes from the New England organization. I like the points here. You're getting a ton of points at home in a place where New England has traditionally struggled. It's going to be hot down there. They're coming from, you know, the Northeast with the nice temperatures this time of year. I really think that Miami is a great value here at home. I like taking the points and maybe even letting it run up. Boy, it's tough. You know, when you see the 17, I saw the 19s too, and it's down to 18 and a half. If I'm actually going to bet it, I might wait because it's, you know, one of those things like if I could get a better price, you know, you don't need to play this game. But if it gets back up to 19 and a half, 20, grab Miami, grab the points and hope that they're able to show up, you know, show some respect for themselves, put out a decent showing and cover the 20-point spread.
Yeah, and it might be a first-half spread game, this one, because you know what New England are all about. They'll get themselves in front, and then they'll just kill that clock and play with them like a cat plays with a mouse. I don't see anything from Miami all season. I think they're going to be ranked 32 come February. Okay, going to move on. Two disappointing sides again here, Seattle and the Steelers. Outside Miami, Steelers were disgusting. I just couldn't even believe it. Well, it made me go with New England minus 26.5 in play. Spread, Seattle Steelers, under 46.5 for me. What do you think?
I'm leaning the Steelers here. I have not made a play on this game yet. It's tough to back the Steelers after what you saw last week, but traditionally they're pretty good at home. And I think that, you know, kind of like we saw Winston turn it around and correct some mistakes last night, I definitely think that Roethlisberger has the ability to do that. The thing that worried me is I thought that James Washington would step in and that, you know, Juju and Washington would form a nice little combo there, but he wasn't able to get separation at all. Juju definitely struggled from the attention of the defenses and not being the number two and having to find out what it's like to be the number one and get the best corner and get the original safety help. So this is a very tough game to play, but if you force me to pick it, I'm leaning Steelers -4, but I don't see a huge edge here, and I don't think that there's anything wrong with passing on this game.
No, just a quick one before I go to you, Jace. I watched Washington. He kept running on the inside shoulder, and then I'm thinking to myself, well, if he's going to throw it long and he's going to throw it over, you've got to go on the outside. The one time he goes on the outside, he makes a completion, and for me, he's got open field, and he runs out. That tells me he was just happy to catch it, whereas someone with more experience, they catch it and they go and they bring back the points. Jace, what do you like, Seattle and Steelers?
Well, any scale that the Steelers graded themselves on going into the season was absolutely destroyed by the New England Patriots. They were outclassed everywhere. Big Ben couldn't really get much going on offense. The defense looked a step slow against that Patriots. I'm sorry. Yeah, against that Patriots. Right. Their offense looked a step slow against the Patriots defense on every play. Mike Tomlin, as usual, severely outcoached by Belichick. On the other sideline, I was not really impressed with the Seattle Seahawks at all. They played a bad Cincinnati Bengals team and escaped with a 1-point victory. You know, two things that surprised me in that game was, one, how anemic did the Seattle Seahawks rushing offense look? Chris Carson couldn't get anything going. He was held to about 3 yards per attempt, less than 50 yards. And number two, how bad the Seattle secondary looked. When was the last time Andy Dalton threw for 415 yards and no interceptions? I think that Roethlisberger is going to find success on Sunday and often. I don't like to overreact, Flash. You know, we've seen the biggest overreactions happen between weeks 1 and 2. But what I will say, the Steelers cannot start this season 0-2. Big Ben and crew knows that a team's chance to make the playoffs drops considerably after starting the year 0-2. I think while it's not a must-win, it's a really important win for a Week 2 game. I don't want to lay the 4, so I took them on the money line, -190. I feel confident enough in them that they actually get the win, no matter how many points it's by, that I ended up taking them on the money line at -190.
And that's the reason I went for the under 46.5, that I thought that if the Steelers do get themselves in front, they're not going to be throwing that ball anywhere near this Seattle secondary. I just see that they just want the W. They've got to erase what happened last week, and I feel that it's just, let's get this job done. But it's a toss of a coin for me. I'm going to leave it because I don't like the Steelers and I don't like Seattle either. Okay, last game, Green Bay against the Vikings. Green Bay D, they definitely turned up and they gave their quarterback every opportunity to get the job done in Chicago. The Vikings, probably one of the most impressive sides if you take away the likes of the Patriots and Kansas and Baltimore. What do you think, Jace?
Well, if you blindly bet the Vikings every game since the day that Mike Zimmer took over as the head coach, you would have won at a 65% clip against the spread. My number one question in this game is, how much did the Packers defense improve in the offseason going into week 1? Are they as good as they looked, or is Mitch Trubisky as bad as I think he is? My gut says it's probably a little of both. And if that's the case, the Packers defense is average at best. And in my opinion, they're not as good of a team as the Vikings are. My power ratings have this game as the Vikings +2. So right now it's just a lean. I'm going to watch this line. If at any point this line gets to Green Bay -3, I am going to bet the Minnesota Vikings. If it doesn't, then I'll be off the game.
Spread, I think this Green Bay D are the real deal. I think that they're underrated because everything goes about how many points Rodgers puts up. Vikings, they're impressive. I think this is a coin flip, this game, and it's a good game to watch for further on down the road. What do you reckon?
I like Green Bay this week. You know, one of the simplest handicaps, if you don't have any time to handicap and you wake up at 9:45 on Sunday morning, at least on the West Coast, 9:45, and you just want to put some bets in, how would you handicap it? You just see who has the better quarterback. And I almost feel that that's the way you should be handicapping this game right here. Green Bay, we know, always plays well at home. I think the home field advantage will mean a lot. The Vikings struggle a tad on the road, especially going to Lambeau. I really like Green Bay in this spot. I think that, they've changed their philosophy. They're willing to bring in free agents on defense, and I think it finally shows. Rather than trying to draft and develop, which had worked okay for them, but they always kind of had a mediocre defense. They kind of went all in this year on the defense. They brought in some players, and I think that it really worked. To be fair, I don't rate Trubisky that high either. I think he's in the bottom third of the league, so that might have something to do with it. So, Kirk Cousins can give me can make me look a lot worse here. I definitely think that Kirk Cousins is a better quarterback than Mitchell Trubisky. But overall, I think that Green Bay is going to look great. I think that the reports of the friction between LaFleur and Rodgers are kind of overblown because NFL analysts have nothing to talk about all summer. I think they're going to work great together. I think they're challenging each other, making each other work outside of their comfort zones. And I really think this is going to be a good pairing. You're going to be able to see the best of Rodgers. And I really lay the points, take Green Bay at home this week. And I think they'll defeat the Minnesota Vikings.
Yeah, I'm leaning that way myself, but I think there's a lot of water under the bridge until we get there. Lads, if I give you one shot, what's your best bet for the weekend, Jace?
Oh, boy. That's a tough one, Flash. I'm going to say I think the Steelers get it done on the money line. I just don't see them going 0-2.
Okay, I'll try not to laugh. Spread, who's your one?
I'll try not to laugh.
game. So I'm going to take the NFC Championship rematch. I'm going to take the Rams -2 at home. I think they do it again. I think you'll get a chance to see, why the Rams won that game and why they should be maybe the favorite to return to the Super Bowl again this year. I think the Saints have problems outdoors, and this is going to be another chance for us to show it. Take the Rams -2 in Los Angeles.
Okay, I'm going to take the Chargers against Matt Patricia's Detroit Lions, who like to sleep. Boys, thanks very much. Next week, same time, same place. That's 12 o'clock for you, Spread. Not 10 past.
Got it.
Top boys. Have a great weekend, lads.
Later, Flash.
Thank you, Flash.
Yeah, really enjoyed
Later,
it.
Jace.
Really enjoyed it. That was Spread Astaire and that was Jason. It's a great weekend ahead. There's a lot of week 1 Devils to put to bed. Until then, see you soon.